to the first video on this channel. This is going to be my new booktube channel. It's been a long time since I've been in front of a camera like this. I'm working with some new equipment that I'm not sure, like I have a little mic. I'm not sure if that's going to be picking everything up, so I do apologize. Please bear with me while I get things situated. But I just wanted to welcome you to my channel, welcome you to my first ever video on this channel. It is going to be a book haul. I have quite a few books here, so let's just get into it. So first, I did pick up books at a couple of different places. My latest obsession is Pango Books. I'm a big believer in buying secondhand books, especially if they're well looked after, which most people do take pretty good care of their books. It's a saving for me. It gives someone else a little bit of money back, and we're not consuming as many brand new books, I guess. Instead of spending full price for a book, it's a great way to just kind of test the waters. So I did pick up a few books from Illumicrate, a few books from Amazon, and the majority of my books are secondhand. So I'll go ahead and get the brand new books out of the way. The first book is None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. If you guys haven't read this book yet, it's amazing. I have read it already, but it's such a good book that I want to be able to reread it. I did consume it on an audiobook, so I would love to have the physical copy of it, and that's why I got it. I'll go ahead and read the blurb if you guys are unfamiliar with this book. It's celebrating her 45th birthday at the hot new local pub. Popular podcaster Alex Summer crosses paths with an unassuming woman called Josie Fair. Josie, it turns out, is also celebrating her 45th birthday. They are, in fact, birthday twins. A few days later, Alex and Josie bump into each other again, this time outside Alex's children's school. Josie has been listening to Alex's podcast and thinks she might be an interesting subject for her series. She is, she tells Alex, on the cusp of great changes in her life. Josie's life appears to be strange and complicated, and although Alex finds her unsettling, she can't quite resist the temptation to keep going on the project. Slowly, she starts to realize that Josie is hiding some very dark secrets, and before she knows it, Josie has inveigled her way into Alex's life and into her house. But as quickly as she had arrived, Josie Fair disappears. Only then does Alex discover that Josie has left a terrible and terrifying legacy in her wake, and that Alex has become the new subject of her own true crime podcast, with her family and her family's lives in great danger. So I will say that listening to it on audio was really cool because you get that podcast aspect of it that you might not imagine while reading it. I believe this was a 5-star read for me. It was amazing. I highly recommend this. The next new book that I got from Amazon was Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I have heard so much about this book. I'm really excited to read it. I know it's about a caste system and like they're terraforming, or they already have terraformed Mars, but our main character thinks that they haven't yet. So I'm sure everyone's heard about this one, but I'll read a little bit of the blurb just in case you haven't. Darrow is a Red, a member of the lowest caste in the color-coded society of the future. Like his fellow Reds, he works all day believing that he and his people are making the surface of Mars livable for future generations. Yet he spends his life willingly knowing that his blood and sweat will one day result in a better world for his children. But Darrow and his kind have been betrayed. Soon he discovers that humanity already reached the surface generations ago, vast cities and sprawling parks spread across the planet. Darrow, and Reds like him, are nothing more than slaves to a decadent ruling class. So just based on that, it does sound really interesting. I know there's quite a few books in this series at this point, so I'm excited to read this. And then I got 2 books from Illumicrate. The first one that I got is To Gaze Upon Wicked Gods, and this is by Molly Chang. I thought this book was absolutely beautiful. first we have the edges, which are gorgeous, and the Naked hardcover, and then also the end pages are just beautiful. I was hoping to get to read this book for the month of May, but unfortunately I don't think I'm going to be able to get to it. I know it has received a lot of criticism. It's supposed to be, some of the earlier reviews called it a colonizer romance. I'm not sure how true that is. I haven't had a chance to read the book myself, so we'll have to find out. I'll go ahead and read the little blurb for you. Heroes die, cowards live. For as long as Yang Ring has been alive, the empire of Erlang has been occupied by Romans, who mercilessly defeat the magic of the people. Now, the invaders advance science, technology, and military make them gods. But Ying is special, having been blessed by death and born with the ability to pull life out of mortal bodies. When Antony, the second prince of Rome, uncovers Ying's power, he offers her an impossible deal. If she becomes his private assassin and eliminates his political rivals, her family will be protected. Can Ying trust this prince, whose promises of a better world make her heart ache, and whose smiles make her pulse beat faster? Are the evils of their agreement really in the service of a much greater good, or will she betray her entire nation to guard those she loves the most? It sounds interesting to me. I haven't heard too much about it, about really anything other than the initial criticism. So I am really excited to read it. I don't always read fantasy books, like fantasy and romance, or romantasy, are not usually my favorites, but I thought, let's give it a try. The last book that I got firsthand, I guess, is The Sun and the Void, and again, this is another beautiful edition. The edges are my favorite, but this book in general is just really quite beautiful. And then we have the end pages. For this one, the end pages are the same in the front as they are in the back, and I don't mind that. So I read the blurb online, and it sounded like something that would intrigue me, which I was really happy about because I did think that the book was absolutely beautiful. Reina is desperate. Stuck living on the edges of society, her only salvation lies in an invitation from a grandmother she's never known. But the journey is dangerous, and prayer can't always avert disaster. Attacked by creatures that stalk the region, Reina is on the verge of death until her grandmother, a dark sorceress, intervenes. Now, dependent on the Doña's magic for her life, Reina will do anything to earn and keep her favor, even the bidding of an ancient god who whispers to her at night. Eva Cassar is unwanted, illegitimate, and of mixed heritage. Eva is her family's shame. She tries her best to be perfect and to hide her oddities, but Eva is hiding a secret. Magic calls to her. Eva knows she should fight the temptation. Magic is the sign of the dark god, and using it is punishable by death. Yet it's hard to deny power when it has always been denied to you. Eva is walking a dangerous path, one that gets stranger every day, and in the end, she'll become something she never imagined. So it really appealed to me. The part about being mixed heritage really appealed to me. I'm very curious to see how that's handled in this book and what topics we're going to touch on. I really thought this would be a good read. It sounds like an interesting story, so I'm excited to read that. I also picked up some books from my local library and that they were selling, and there's like a secondhand shop near us. So I got Paper Towns by John Green. This book I actually read in 24 hours. I read it a few years ago, and it's one of John Green's books that I don't actually own. I do enjoy his books. My favorite of his is Looking for Alaska. I don't completely remember what this book is about. I just know that part of it, I think, or a lot of it takes place in Orlando, and I used to live in Orlando. I just remember that I really enjoyed this one, so I'll probably at some point give it a reread. It's been a while since I've read this one, like I said. I think it was in 2018 or 2017 when I last read this book, so it's definitely due for a good read. Then we have A Good Neighborhood by Therese Ann Fowler. I know nothing about this book, I'll be honest with you. I saw the cover, it was a couple dollars, and I thought I would pick it up. I think I'd been seeing it on Pango Books, so I was already kind of intrigued, but I still hadn't yet read the blurb. Sometimes I pick up books just on a whim. I am a cover buyer, so this one, what happens when you try to do the right thing but it all goes wrong? Okay, already I'm interested. In Oaknell, a verdant, tight-knit North Carolina neighborhood, professor of forestry and ecology Valerie Alston Holt is raising her bright and talented biracial son. Okay, love it. Xavier, who is headed to college in the fall. After years of single parenting, Valerie, a widow, faces the prospect of an empty nest. All is well until the Whitmans move in next door, and apparently a traditional family with new money and a secretly troubled teenage daughter, and raise the house and trees to build themselves a showplace. Thanks to his thriving business, Brad Whitman is a local celebrity, and he's made a small fortune on his customer service and charm, while his wife, Julia, escaped her trailer park upbringing and too early motherhood for the security of marriage and homemaking. Their new house is more than she ever imagined for herself and her girls. But with little in common except a property line, these two very different families quickly find themselves at odds. First, over a historic oak tree in Valerie's yard, and soon after, the blossoming romance between their two teenagers. I don't know, it seems like it's going to be a pretty easy read for me. It's just over 300 pages, so it should be a pretty easy read. Yeah, sounds like it's right up my alley. Then I also picked up Dating Dr. Dill. I've seen a few people talk about this. It is a Taming of the Shrew retelling about, I believe, a doctor who's trying to raise money for something, and then the woman in this book she wants to buy her mother's house, I think, something along those lines. Karina Mann dreams of having a love story like her parents, but she prefers restoring her classic car and swiping right on dating apps. When her father announces he's selling her late mother's home, Karina makes a deal with him. He'll gift her the house if she can get engaged in 4 months. But her search for a soulmate becomes impossible when her argument with Dr. Prem Verma, host of the Dr. Dill Show, goes viral. Now, the only man in her life is the one she doesn't want. Dr. Prem Verma is dedicated to building a local community health center, but he needs to get donors with deep pockets. The Dr. Dill Show was doing just that until his argument with Karina went viral, and he was left shortchanged. That's when Karina's meddling aunties present Prem with a solution. Convince Karina he is her soulmate, and he'll regain funding for his clinic. Even though his views on love matches and arranged matches conflict with hers, Prem finds the more he's with Karina, the more he begins to believe she's the woman he wants to spend the rest of his life with. But for Prem and Karina to find their happily ever after, they must admit that hate has just turned into fate. So it sounds interesting. I do like a good romance book every now and then. I've heard really good things about it. So I'm really interested to give it a try, and we'll see how it goes. And I also got The Maidens. This is another one that I've seen everywhere. I don't really know what it's about. It's pretty much a cover buy for me, but it was $2. So, and I've heard really great things about this author, Alex Michaelides. And it's psychological suspense. I know he's written weaving together Greek mythology, murder, and obsession. I love Greek mythology, so I'm really interested to see how I like this book. That's really all I have to say about it. This is the last book I picked up at our library. I happened to see it. It was a couple bucks. I have no idea what it's about. I'm thinking it's about vampires. Yeah, I'm not a big vampire fan, but I feel like, how old is this book? So this is from 2020. I'm sure everyone has read this book. Everyone who wants to read this book has read this book, and it's probably just me who has not read it. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not always the biggest fan of vampire books, vampire movies. So will I enjoy this? Maybe. It looks like it's almost 600 pages long. So it's definitely not going to be at the top of my TBR list anytime soon. So it's coming in at 571 pages. Am I going to love this book? I don't know. Did you read this book? Did you love this book? Let me know. The last book I got in person is Murder Your Employer, Volume 1, The McMaster's Guide to Homicide. This was actually on my Amazon wishlist. I think it might still be on my Amazon wishlist. And I happened to see it in our secondhand shop, and I immediately picked it up. And I didn't realize until I got home that it has, like, the pages are a little bit destroyed. So if anybody knows how to fix that, let me know. I've kind of just been sitting at the bottom of the stack of books and hoping for the best. I really have no idea what this book is about. I know it's pretty new. This is really interesting. So it's got like a map in the beginning of the book. But yeah, I was super excited when I saw this because I knew this was a book that I wanted. From Edgar-winning novelist and playwright Rupert Holmes comes a thriller with a killer concept. The McMaster's Conservatory for the Applied Arts, a luxurious clandestine college dedicated to the fine art of murder. I'm already intrigued. Prepare yourself for an education you'll never forget. A delightful mix of witty wordplay, breathtaking twists, and genuine intrigue, Murder Your Employer will gain you admission into a wholly original world cocooned within the most entertaining book about well-intentioned would-be murderers you'll ever read. Who hasn't wondered what the world would be like if a person who is the object of your affliction ceased to exist? At the McMaster's Conservatory Future Deletus, Never Murderers, learn the consummate education of the homicidal arts. So, yeah, this really sounds like a book for me. It's pretty. What more could I want? So the last two stacks here are from Tango Books. We have Always in December by Emily Stone. I read this book a couple of years ago. It's a book that I will always recommend. I'm not a very emotional person, so when a book can evoke so much emotion from me, it's something that I want to have. It's something that I want to reread. I did read this. I read the physical copy. I borrowed it from my library, and I am so happy to have this book. I have not read her second book or anything else from her yet. This is one of my favorite books of all time. I really love this book, and I highly, highly, highly recommend it. It's also a really great Christmas read. I did read it during Christmas time. All the holiday vibes, very cute romance. It was just so good. Every December, Josie mails a letter from her home in London to the parents she lost Christmas night many years ago. It's so good. And she meets the main character, the guy, I don't remember, obviously her name is Josie. What is his name? Max. Max is like this grumpy, just kind of standoffish guy, and they end up bumping into each other, literally, and it just goes from there. It's a really cute romance. Like, at first it's kind of like not a romance, then like while you're reading it, it just turns into that, and it's such a good book. It's such a good Christmas read. It was a really quick read for me as well. Then I picked up two Shari Rapena books, The Unwanted Guest and A Stranger in the House. I recently read Everyone Here is Lying by her, and I did enjoy it. I believe I gave it 4 stars. I gave it 3 stars. Oh, that's right. I knocked it down because there was this whole like rant about men towards the end, and it was unnecessary. I did not like that at all. It it added nothing to the story. It added no enjoyment for me. It was just kind of this detraction. So I do want to give a few more of her books a try. I am really actually interested in A Stranger in the House. It sounds really good. Karen Krupp was home making dinner for her husband. She was expecting him at any second. The phone rang. It was the call she'd hoped she'd never get. She jumped in her car and raced to a neighborhood she thought she'd never visit. She peered into the dark, deserted building and braced herself for the worst. After that, she remembered nothing. She told her husband Tom she'd been in an accident. She must have lost control of her car as she sped through the roughest part of town. The police suspect that Karen was up to no good, but her husband refuses to believe it. Her best friend is not so sure, and even Karen herself doesn't know what to believe. Then she realizes something in her house has been moved. Someone's been there, and now everyone is a stranger. Everyone has a secret, one they might even kill for. Love it. Sounds good to me. And then also The Unwanted Guest. This one, I believe, they're like in a cabin. They get snowed in and cut off from the rest of the world. So kind of a classic murder mystery vibe. I wanted to read more from her. I just hope there's not going to be any more overt men hate. Like, it doesn't do anything for me. Then I got The Girl You Left Behind by Jojo Moyes. I believe this one is like World War I era-esque. And I read Me Before You by her. That's the only book I've read by her. I have put off reading anything else by her for a while because I've heard that Me Before You was kind of like a one-hit wonder situation. So, but this one, I came across this on Pango Books, and it sounds good. It's a World War I era book, which I love World War I and World War II era stuff, mostly World War I, like Downton Abbey-esque type of stuff. Yeah, so this appealed to me. Also, it's a bright yellow book. I really liked the cover. It's really pretty to me, and I just bought it on whim, I guess. But I was ordering something else, and it was in their shop, so I was like, okay, I'll pick it up. So, a spellbinding dual love story that asks, what happened to the girl you left behind? France, 1916, Sophie Lefebvre must keep her family safe while her adored husband, Edouard, fights at the front. When their town falls to the Germans in the midst of World War I, she is forced to serve them every morning at her hotel. From the moment the new commandant sets eyes on Sophie's portrait, painted by her artist husband, a dangerous obsession is born, one that will lead Sophie to make a dark and terrible decision. Almost a century later, Sophie's portrait hangs in the home of Liv Halston, a wedding gift from her young husband before his sudden death. After a chance encounter reveals the portrait's true worth, a battle begins over its troubled history. As the layers of the painting's shadowy past are revealed, Liv's world is turned upside down all over again, and her belief in what is right is put to the ultimate test. It just sounds good. It sounds like something for me. Like I said, I love World War I era. I love characters being put into these situations where you almost have to be morally gray to deal with them. I don't know. It just sounds really good. And then I picked up a few new holiday books. I'm thinking about doing a Christmas in July reading. If not, these will still be great to read during the Christmas holiday. So I picked up Christina Lauren in a Holidays. I was going to read this book a few years ago, and then I just ran out of time, and then I didn't want to read it when it wasn't Christmas. So I really don't remember anything about this book. It's the most wonderful time of the year, but not for Maylin Jones. She's living with her parents, hates her going nowhere job, and has just made a romantic error of epic proportions. But perhaps worst of all, this is the last Christmas May will be at her favorite place in the world, the snowy Utah cabin where she and her family have spent the holidays every year since she was born, along with 2 other beloved families. Mentally melting down as she drives away from the cabin for the final time, May throws out what she thinks is a simple plea to the universe. Please show me what will make me happy. Next thing she knows, tires screech and metal collides. Everything goes black. But when May gasps awake, she's on an airplane bound for Utah, where she begins the same holiday all over again. With one hilarious disaster after another sending her back to the plane, May must figure out how to break free of the strange time loop and finally get her true love under the mistletoe. Ooh, okay. Yeah, that sounds good. So I'm excited to read that either in July or in December. And then I also picked up The Holiday Swap. I've heard pretty good things about this. I know one of them is running a restaurant and another one has a cooking show, and they're twins. They switch lives. It's a romance by Maggie Knox. So sounds really good. It's a couple years old at this point, but I haven't heard anything bad about it, so I'm excited to give this a read. Also, same thing, either in July for my Christmas in July, or if I don't get to it, I'll read it at Christmas time. And then I also got Kiss Her Once for Me by Alison Cochrane. I can't remember who I saw read this book, and they said it was pretty good. But again, I was kind of just looking to get holiday reads. I really do enjoy reading holiday romance during the Christmas season. I love reading thrillers during that time as well, don't get me wrong, but I really enjoy Christmas romances. It's the best time of the year. 1 year ago, recent Portland transplant Ellie Oliver had her dream job in animation in a Christmas Eve bookstore meet cute with a woman she fell in love with over the course of a single night. But after a betrayal the next morning and the loss of her job soon after, she finds herself adrift, alone, and desperate for money. Since finding work at a local coffee shop, she's just getting through the days until Andrew, the shop's landlord, proposes a shocking drunken plan. A marriage of convenience that will give him his recent inheritance and alleviate Ellie's financial woes and isolation. They decide to spend the holidays together at his family cabin to keep up the bruise. But when Andrew introduces his new fiancée to his sister, Ellie is shocked to discover that his sister is Jack, the mysterious woman she fell for last Christmas Eve. Now, over one very festive week, Ellie must choose between the safety of a fake relationship and the risk of something real. I'm here for it. I've already read this One Day in December by Josie Silver. This was really good. It starts off with her seeing the guy. I think she's on the bus and he's at the bus stop, and they have this moment where they see each other, and then she spends all this time trying to find him, only for her best friend to start dating him. And this book, I think there is also a podcast element to it. It was so good. I did listen to it on audio. This was such a good book, and it was such a heartwarming Christmas book. Next up, we have The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. This is another book. I don't really know anything about it. It was a book of the month, apparently, in 2021. The cover looked kind of cool, hoping it's about apothecaries. A forgotten history, a secret network of women, a legacy of poison and revenge. Welcome to The Lost Apothecary. I'm intrigued. Hidden in the depths of the 18th century London, a secret apothecary shop caters to an unusual kind of clientele. Women across the city whisper of a mysterious figure named Nella who sells well-disguised poisons to use against the oppressive men in their lives. Nella's dark world is no place for her newest patron, a precious 12-year-old girl named Eliza Fanning, but their unexpected bond sparks a string of consequences that echoes through the centuries. 200 years later, aspiring historian Caroline Parswell discovers an aged apothecary vial in the River Thames. As she is newly grappling with the searing betrayal of her husband's infidelity, a curious research project is exactly the distraction Caroline needs. But when she discovers a link between the vial and London's long unsolved apothecary murders, Caroline's upended present soon collides with an explosive history binding her fate to Nella's and Eliza's in a stunning twist that transcends the barrier of time. Yep, sounds good to me. And then I was able to snag a couple of special editions from Tango Books as well. One is Fathom Folk by Eliza Chan. And it just really intrigued me. The cover is beautiful. Like, the sprayed edges are gorgeous. The interior, like the naked hardback, is stunning. The pages, beautiful. I don't know if this one has different pages. No, this one is the same. It is gorgeous, and the premise kind of intrigued me about, like, basically there's humans, but there's also different creatures living in the waters. So it says, welcome to Tian Kal, shining pearl of human civilization and a safe haven for those fleeing civil unrest. Or at least that's how it first appears. But in the semi-flooded city, humans are quite literally on top, peering down from shining towers and aerial walkways on the Fathom Folk. Sirens, sea witches, kelpies, and kappas, who live in the polluted waters below. For Half-Siren Mira, promotion to captain of the border guard means an opportunity to help her downtrodden people. But if earning the trust and respect of her human colleagues wasn't hard enough, everything Mira has worked toward is put in jeopardy when Nami, and know-it-all water dragon Fathom Folk royalty, is exiled to the city. When extremists sabotage the annual boat race, violence erupts, as does the clampdown on Fathom Folk rights. Both Nami and Mira must decide if the cost of change is worth paying, or if Tian Kal should be left to drown. So this is also a debut fantasy inspired by East Asian mythology and ocean folk tales. So I don't know, it just sounds interesting to me. And like I said, it's such a beautiful book. The only, I was actually able to get this for a really good deal because of this right here. There's like a little manufacturing error, but I'm gonna only see this part of the book. Maybe that's fine. So to me, it was worth it to get it and give it a try. And the other special edition I got from Pango Books is Threads That Bind. And I just thought this was really interesting. I mean, the cover is really beautiful. The sprayed edges are gorgeous. And she included, like, even the letter from the author and everything. The naked hardback is so beautiful. And then there is an alternate cover. I haven't decided which I want to display yet, but I don't know. This just sounds really interesting. I know it has to do with, like, a little bit of Greek mythology in there. And, like, on the back it says, the Moira born always came in three, like the Moire, the goddess of fate themselves. The firstborn was the spinner, who could weave new threads. The second was the drawer. She could elongate or shorten a thread, intensifying or weakening the corresponding feeling. And the youngest was the cutter, able to cut whatever thread she desired, even life threads. Cutters were the dangerous ones. But the premise on the inside, it says, in the city of Elante, the descendants of the Greek gods live alongside mortals. I don't know if her name is Lo or Io. Not sure. So let's just go with Io. Io is Moira born, descended from the Fates. She can see threads, shimmering silver lines connecting every person. When a relationship is formed, a new thread appears. When a person's life thread is cut, it's their time to die. Io uses her gifts as a private investigator, trying to make ends meet in a world which treats other born people like herself with suspicion and prejudice. Then Io is witness to a murder, but this is no ordinary murder. Io can see that the killer's life thread is severed. They should be long dead. More complicated still, there is another witness, Eddie, a member of the violent Rossi mob who rule Elante. And what Io can see immediately, although Eddie cannot, is that there is a bright silver fate thread connecting them. This boy is her destiny. So that really intrigued me. I do, like I said before, I enjoy Greek mythology. So I'm very curious to see how they're going to weave it into this book. Then I also picked up This Is How You Lose the Time War, and this is by Max Gladstone. I'm sure everyone has read this. I have not. Oh, I'm sorry. It's Max Gladstone and Amal El-Mohtar. It's always been a book that really intrigued me. I know it's about like basically different timelines and stuff, and two women who are either in love or fall in love, or that's really all I know. I started reading it. I'm about 10 pages in, and so far it's pretty good. It's not anything that's on my like immediate TBR. It's not anything that I had planned to read for this month or the next month. So I'm probably just going to read it as I can. It's a pretty short read, it looks like. Yeah, it looks like it's less than 200 pages. So I'm interested to see how long it'll take me to read this book, because I'm probably just going to read it, when I have time. But I'm pretty excited about that one. But I also picked up a few books that I have previously read. Both of them are like thriller, horror type of books. The first one is The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. I loved this book so much. It was, I think, one of the first books that really got me into like thrillers or mysteries. This one obviously takes place in Paris. I believe she's looking for her brother. He stops answering her messages or something. She's on the run. I forget exactly what the whole premise is. I just remembered the ending was crazy. It was like, it ended and then it unfolded and then it unfolded some more and then and I was just like, what? So I would love to be able to reread this book. I did listen to it on audio. I really enjoy listening to Lucy Foley's books on audio. They're amazing. But yeah, I definitely want to have the physical copy to read again. I also picked up Hidden Pictures, and I remember, I think I saw someone on Instagram recommend this at one point, and I didn't really know a whole lot about this book going into it. This is a really bizarre book. I don't remember everything that happened. I just remember, because honestly, there were parts of this book that I was really trying to skip through because it was kind of scary. It was really a scary book. This one, I remember, I believe she was a runner and she's in rehab, or she's like on probation or something, because she has to check in with someone periodically. Our main character, I forget what her name is. Yeah, fresh out of rehab, Mallory Quinn takes a job in the affluent suburb of Springbrook, New Jersey, as a babysitter for Ted and Caroline Maxwell. She used to look after their 5-year-old son, Teddy. So it starts off normal enough. I mean, she had like everything going for her. We find out all of this stuff later on. To me, it's not really a spoiler alert. It's like, she had all this stuff going for her. She made some mistakes. She got her scholarship taken away, all that stuff. She was a runner, and so she does still continue to run throughout the book. But she goes to almost be like a nanny, because I'm pretty sure that she's also, she lives on the property. They have a cottage on the property. So she lives on the property. She's basically like a nanny. And at first, everything is great. It seems like a dream job. Everything's great. I think it was the dad who initially doesn't get along with her, or just seems very standoffish to her. I forget exactly what the situation was about that. But the way the story unfolds and the way these graphic pictures that the son draws are contributing to the way the story unfolds is just like, let me see if I can find a good one. Okay, here's a great one. Okay. Tell me that's not going to give you a nightmare. So, highly recommend this book. I did read it. I would love to listen to the audio of this book, but at the time I don't think there was an audiobook available at my library for it, so I just read it physically, and even that was enough to give me the chills, so I definitely had to have this. Then we're down to almost the end here. I also picked up Darling Girl. I believe this is a Peter Pan retelling. It's a book that's been on my TBR. I actually put it on hold at my library, and then I suspended it because I wasn't going to have time to read it. I went on a whole reading hiatus for about a year after my daughter was born, and I'm just now coming back to reading, which I forgot how much I love to read. But yeah, so Darling Girl, I believe, is a Peter Pan retelling, and it just seems really interesting to me. In this beautiful reimagining of J.M. Barrie's classic, one woman must take the infamous Peter Pan, who is not the innocent adventurer the fairy tales make him out to be, to save her daughter's life. So, sounds like a good time. I'm pretty sure this got some good high ratings. I'm sure someone recommended this to me. Whenever I'm on Pango Books, I do try to, if I'm searching for a specific book, I try to see what else the seller has in their inventory and see if there's anything else that I might want, so that I can either qualify for if they have like a percentage off or free shipping, and just get a bunch of books at one time. So I know I did get quite a few books from one particular seller. I know Hidden Pictures and Darling Girl and the next two books, the last two books that I have, came from the same place. I don't remember if the Paris Apartment came from there as well. I think it did. So the next book I have is The Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I have heard a lot of things about this book, and I have been dying to pick it up. It's not on my immediate TBR, but it's definitely one that's on my list. I really enjoyed Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom from Leigh Bardugo. While I haven't read anything else from her yet, I am very interested to read more from her. I do want to read the, Shadow and Bone series as well before I watch anything on Netflix. But yeah, so I'm hoping this is going to be a great read. I think this one is about, she's a reporter or something, and she's at college. There's unsolved homicides, and it's like a mystery type of thing. So it sounded like something right up my alley. And then the final book I have here is Iron Flame. And now you might be thinking, you must have loved Fourth Wing. You would think that. You would think that I would at least have read that book first. But I haven't, because I thought I was ordering Fourth Wing. So I have not read Fourth Wing. I did score this beautiful sprayed edge edition of Iron Flame, which I cannot even start reading because I need to read Fourth Wing. So I'm going to work on either, I can always listen to it on audio. I believe our library has it as well. But I'm thinking about just going ahead and buying a nice edition of Fourth Wing as well to match, and hopefully I like them both. Okay guys, that is all I have for you today. That is my most recent books. So it looks like I picked up 27 books in total. That's my most recent haul. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I hope that you will come back for my next video. Subscribe, leave me a comment if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. I'd love to hear from you guys. And that's all I have. So thanks for joining me. Bye.